Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out at patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. You can also find me on Twitter at Packers_Access. And wherever you get your podcast, you can find this in podcast form. Just search Packers Total Access. We're on Spotify, iTunes, everything in between. We're also live here on X, YouTube, Rumble, somewhere on Facebook. We have still yet to find where that live stream is, but here we are. Hopefully everybody's having an awesome morning here on this glorious March the 4th as NFL news is really starting to ramp up, and we're going to kind of dive into that on today's show. We're going to talk about a little Quay Walker update. He put, or someone else had put a social media post out and pointed out a detail about his social account, which may lead to, it looks like Quay Walker has probably played his last snap as a Green Bay Packer. No huge surprise. We'll talk about what it all means, what the Packers will potentially be losing if he signs somewhere else. I know some of us were holding out a little bit of hope he may re-sign with the Packers. We also got a ton of NFL headlines. Players being released. Free agency is kind of shuffling around, and everybody's getting set for free agency to open. I think, what is it later? I think it's next week, if I remember correctly, when the legal tampering period starts. So we'll kind of set the stage for that. And then we'll talk about the top free agents according to NFL IQ over at NFL.com, another really, really cool tool that everybody can check out. I see the chats filing in. If everybody would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into Packers Total Access, thank you for making us a part of your morning. We are not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We don't try to be any of that extra professional stuff. We are just fans, a fan-driven show, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, hit that like button for us, hit subscribe, click the bell icon as well. I know the chat's already filing in. We got Not So Cool in here. He slammed it in at first there. Love it. Chad Inc. in the house. What's up, Chris? We got Mike Z in here. Andrew, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for swinging by. You are the man. And let's see who else is in here. Yeah, we're good to go. So let's get this thing cranked up. All right, let's start with a little Quay Walker talk here, okay? And listen, this is something, it's not going to be a huge surprise to anybody, but we need to hit on it because I think some of us were holding out a little bit of hope that, hey, maybe Quay hits free agency, and if the market isn't there, the Packers could bring him back on the deal that they allegedly offered him, right, there toward the backside of last year. If you guys don't remember, the Packers did offer him a contract extension. It wasn't nowhere near the number that Quay wanted, is what the reports were saying. So Quay was kind of sitting on it. His play, in my opinion, it declined on throughout the year. So nothing really happened to strengthen his stance on, hey, I actually deserve more money than you guys are offering me. So it was kind of writing on the wall. He's probably going to hit free agency, but we're still holding out a little bit of hope that what if the market isn't there that Quay's expecting and the Packers offer is the best offer? Maybe he re-signs with Green Bay. Well, things have kind of shifted a little bit. Now, listen, it doesn't mean there's zero chance of him returning to Green Bay, but when you look at this, it doesn't look good, right? Josh Barnard, if I'm saying that right, over on X. You guys go give him a follow at JRBARNARD10. Tweeted out, Quay Walker has deleted everything Packers from his Instagram just days before free agency. Now, I don't mean to laugh, but this type of stuff's happened in the past, and we bring it to listener, viewers' attentions, and they all wrote, not all, a chunk of them will roll their eyes and go, this means absolutely nothing, blah, blah, blah. This is common practice. People clean their social media. I remember Jair was the one that was the big one, right? He cleaned his social media account. And they said, oh, there's nothing to it. There's nothing to it. Next thing you know, he's gone, right? So, again, I think there is some smoke to this fire here. As Quay Walker, it looks like the only thing he's got left on his IG there is just pictures of him at Georgia. So he's probably looking for a clean slate. And this is the problem. When you do go to a player before they hit free agency and offer a contract extension and you're giving lower than what the market value is, sometimes feelings can be hurt, right? Sometimes people take it personal, especially how it's presented. That's why agents are so important. And I know as fans, we don't like agents because they seem to muddy the water and make things difficult for our favorite players to re-sign with our favorite teams. That's just typically how that works. But you can kind of remove the emotion, and you don't have to have that tough conversation with the general manager, right? Or with the front office executive, whoever it might be handling the salary cap for you and the contract negotiations. So if you've got an agent to kind of be that buffer and they're good at what they do, they're going to try to get you the most money, right? But hopefully they're not relaying too much information to the player to try to spark any more, what's the right word here? Any more anger, any more dislike for the player towards the organization. Sometimes that happens though, right? So I think that's probably what happened here, which tells me it's kind of like Josh Myers. Like Josh Myers, you guys know I was very vocal. After year 3, I'm like, okay, Josh Myers is not the dude. There comes a point when you draft a young player that you just got to acknowledge, you've got to accept the fact that, hey, he's not as good as we were hoping he was, right? About halfway through year 3 for Josh Myers, I reached that point. And there were still some people clinging on to hope. But again, I said, hey, if you can get him back for like $4 or $5 million per, I would love to have him back. You know, I don't think he's a horrible football player. He's just not worthy of center one money. And he definitely hasn't lived up to a second-round pick. Well, the problem was the Packers let him test the market. The market wasn't there. And I'm thinking, okay, if the market isn't there, why not re-sign him at whatever the market is? Okay. He ended up signing like a $2 million deal with the Jets, and the Packers didn't even offer him anything. So more times than not, it seems like when the Packers are done with the player, they're done with the player, right? They won't even go, oh, well, now it makes a lot of sense. So again, it's a double-edged sword there, where the player probably got some ill feelings in the Packers predominantly in the past. You know, precedent suggests they're not going to bring that player back once you reach this point in the process. So again, shout out to Josh over there on X that tweeted that. Now let's talk about, where Quay ranks. Some people think Quay is a great linebacker, right? He's an athletic freak, all those things that we talked about from the get-go. I've been of the opinion, I don't think he's played as bad as his PFF grade suggests. As you can see here, guys, he has declined the last 3 years, okay? 2023, he was a 58.5. 2024, he drops to a 57.2. 2025, he drops to a 46. I don't think that he's the 76th worst linebacker in the league overall. I think he's got every player they do things really, really well, and they do things not so well. Your elite players, your first ballot Hall of Fame players, they typically do everything well, right? Those are few and far between. So what you got to do is try to find a player and how they fit your scheme, how they fit what you want them to do. And hopefully what I refer to as their superpower lines up with the need and the main focus that you want them to perform in your organization, on your football team, and in this case at Mike linebacker. So with Quay, there were times that he was good against the run. There were other times he was bad. He was slow to process. He was slow to shoot his shot. You could watch Edgerrin Cooper play right alongside him. And with Coop, you would see the stop, start, shoot, or start, stop, shoot. And he was in the gap making the play. Quay, it was just kind of a start, stop, wait, then shoot. And it's too late, right? You also seen the athleticism it didn't kind of translate onto the field as much as you would want to see at times. I remember the Chicago Bears attacking the flat and he couldn't get to his spot, right? Now, he could cover vertically really, really good if you had him playing the Mike backer in the Tampa 2, unless, of course, they're playing an offset formation and the wheel has to cover the seam. We've seen a little bit of that with Hafley. But if he had to flip his hips and go, and with that tall frame as well, as tall as he is and everything and his athleticism, that's kind of what he did well, covering down the seam. But how often are you asking your Mike linebacker to play a Tampa 2 deep seam look? If you play that all the time, what's going to happen? Your offense is going to become, or your defense is going to become predictable, and offenses are going to chew you apart. All they got to do is either come in a 2x2 or a 3x1 set, walk the 3 or the 2 down the seam to get you out of there, and bring a dig underneath, and they're running butt naked through the trailer park, right? It's easy to scheme around one particular thing that somebody does well. Now, even with that being said, I don't think he graded out as a 46. I don't think that's really all that accurate, right? I think, if I had to guess, I would say Quay is a solid number 2 linebacker, right? A solid number 2. Now, is that a difference maker in a nickel 4-2-5? No, it's not. So again, how much money are you willing to pay for a player who, let's say, is average to above average at his respective position? You're definitely not willing to pay a projected contract of what PFF has here at 3 years, $15 million, right? Just can't do it. Can't do $15 million per year. You cannot do that. And they had him ranked as the 140th best free agent. So PFF doesn't really agree with that money as well, right? They're just simply saying, hey, here's what the projected market value is showing. Now, there's multiple reports on that. And you could see like Quincy Williams is graded or is actually ranked slightly higher than Quay Walker. Look at his projected contract, 2 years, $4 million per, right? If you could give me Quay Walker for $4 million per, abso-freaking-lutely, sign me up. If you can give him for $5 million, I would do it. When you get closer to 8, that's where I'm a little bit hesitant, right? Alex Singleton in the 153 mark, right? What does he got? 2 years, $4.5 million average annual value there, right? So again, Quay Walker just overpriced there in free agency. When you look at the way The Athletic had it ranked, they had him ranked as the 59th ranked free agent, according to The Athletic, significantly higher than PFF, which is closer to where I would probably put him. But still, you're willing to overpay for great. You're never willing to overpay for good. And stack backer, specifically Mike backer, and they got to be interchangeable, guys. The Mike and the Will and the nickel 4-2-5 or the nickel 2-4-5 have got to be very, very interchangeable, right? But when you look at the stack backer position in a nickel defense, I consider it tier 2 important. So you're willing to overpay a little bit to make sure you don't have an absolute dud there, right? But you're not willing to overpay a significant amount. You don't want to put yourself in that situation. So again, Quay Walker significantly higher on this list here. Of course, they got Devin Lloyd in the number 4 spot, which I agree with. Devin Lloyd is everything that we were hoping Quay Walker was. And I can't remember who went first. I've heard some people say Devin Lloyd was drafted after Quay Walker. I think that's the case, but you guys go fact check that yourself. But again, that's where he ranks on that list there. Now let's go to projected market value. Spot Track currently has Quay Walker at 8.3 AAV as it sits right now. Their market value that they're projecting is 3 years, $24.8 million. Okay. This particular breakdown, I don't know if it actually includes guaranteed money. So we're just talking in general terms, right? Generality here. So the comp players, tell me if you're willing to pay any of these players $8 million per. Ernest Jones, Terrell Bernard, Quincy Williams, Jordan Brooks. Does that scream, oh, we got to have that guy? No. Well, those are the guys that Quay kind of comps to here. Okay. So when you comp him to them in terms of age, the length of their contract, all those things, the base calculated value comes to 4 years, $34.3 million, or an average annual salary of $8.5 million. Also, the statistical comparisons, when you compare it across the board, again, Ernest Jones, Terrell Bernard, Quincy Williams, and Jordan Brooks, this is how Quay Walker stacks up. Game played percentage, minus 12.9%. Okay, so 12.9% less value than those 4 players averaged together. All right. Snaps percentage, minus 2.99. Okay. Tackles per game. That's what Quay does well, right, guys? Like Quay is a tackling machine. The problem is, at what depth is he making the tackle? Is he being too hesitant, right? So when you look at the tackles per game, you would expect that would be a positive. It's actually a minus 0.62 there. Okay. Sacks per game, just a flat 0, so no harm, no foul there. Stops per game. Again, he makes a bunch of tackles, but does he make a stop? A stop, like I said, is when you make the tackle on a play and it results in a negative play for the offense. Not lost yardage, but just a negative play in terms of EPA, expected points added. All right. Minus 10.32%. Below these 4 guys that we all pretty much agree we wouldn't pay them $8 million, right? Catch rate, allowed per year, I believe it is minus 1.7. Quarterback hurries per game, minus 1.7. A rating of minus 8.4, with the median prime percentage change of minus 2.37. The average prime percentage change of minus 4.8%. And what you get here is a calculated market value of 3 years, $24.8 million, or an AAV of $8.2 million. So again, Quay probably thinks he's worth 10 or 15 million. The Packers probably think he's worth 5. The true value is somewhere in between, as we always talk about. If they had offered Quay $5 million and he said, man, to hell with you guys, I'm moving on, that's insulting, right? Well, that's the starting point for the Packers. If Quay had come back and said, how about 12 million? Maybe the Packers come back and say, how about 7? That's our best offer. Now that's a little bit closer to what the market value could potentially be. Now we'll see. Only time will tell when free agency opens if he's going to tally up to that amount. Now, I want to point this out. We said his superpower was covering the seam, right? Well, that doesn't cover the hook curl responsibilities. That doesn't cover the curl flat responsibilities. That doesn't cover the man coverage underneath. If they're running a cut route, a dig, a shoot, whatever it is, if you're in man coverage, right? His passer rating allowed last year, according to Next Gen Stats and GPS tracking, was 86th amongst all stack backers. When I say all, I actually removed the minimum snap guys. So this makes him look better than he actually was as well. So if you kept the minimum snap guys in there, I want to say he finished like in the 120s or something. So again, he was 85th or 86th best stack backer in terms of passer rating allowed when he was targeted at 105.6. So the stops don't add up, right? the passer rating when targeted doesn't add up. The money doesn't add up to the production. The money doesn't add up to the comps. This is just a no-brainer. You got to move on. And now he's scrubbed his account, which tells me he thinks he's worth more than he actually is. No offense to Quay. It was fun rooting for him. I always wanted him to be a great football player for the Packers. I got his autographed jersey right over here on the wall. I think he's a great dude, old country boy. Love that about him. You can hear it in my voice. I'm a country boy. So guys who love fishing and hunting and all that, they're near and dear to my heart. But business is business, and it doesn't look like there's a very, very, very little chance that Quay Walker would entertain a offer that matches market value. And I don't even know if the Packers would match market value. So that's a little update on Quay Walker here going into free agency. If you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the Quay Walker conversation there? How do you feel about potentially bringing him back? Would you want him back at what price? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. Click the bell icon for us as well. All right, let's move along now to some NFL headlines. The last 24 hours, really the last 48 hours has gotten kind of ramped up here, guys. Let me go to the chat real quick, actually, before we dive into it. I just want to keep you guys involved as much as I can, even though we're flying solo here. Let's see what Lil Mick Crocodile Dundee says. What makes it even worse is none of these guys are developing any better. Offensive line hasn't gotten better. D-line hasn't. Just one here and there, talking about the O-line. I agree, man. To me, it feels like it should be a coaching change, but I've got to check my ego at the door. Brian Balaga's watching the tape, and he's going, this ain't coaching. These guys are just not good enough. So former NFL offensive lineman is saying, no. Gutey has got a group of guys that aren't up to snuff. He's not seeing anything that, they should be getting coached better here, there, or there. He's talking about entry-level stuff that they should be good at, right? So I wanted to pile on Coach Butkus and say, hey, why don't we change it up there? Maybe there's a problem there. In the back of my mind, I'm also going, well, we can't let Gutey off the hook. Maybe he swung and missed on Aaron Banks in free agency. Maybe he swung and missed on Anthony Belton in the draft, right? And it's still early, I get it. But when you take everything into consideration and then you hear Brian Balaga break it down, it's like, okay, it's probably more on the talent there as it is the coaches. But again, I can understand if people were frustrated with the coaches as well. So a little bit of offensive line talk there in the chat. Awesome. Good stuff. Let's see what Andrew says here. Andrew says we need to improve our cornerbacks, O-line, and D-line, Clayton. But are you preaching to the choir, Drew? Man, we need to, in my opinion, what I would like to see happen is move on from Aaron Banks, go post June 1, move on from Elgton Jenkins unless he's willing to take a huge pay cut, and you're going to free up a chunk of change there. I would go in free agency, and I would try to get an interior offensive lineman, preferably Tyler Linderbaum if it doesn't absolutely break the bank. And if he's off the table, go get one of these deals on one of these guards, right? You're Samalo, you've got David Edwards, you got Elijah Vera Tucker, Joe Batonio, Kevin Zeitler, Ed Ingram, and even Tevin Jenkins. Sign one of those guys on a little sweetheart deal, right? And get them in-house. And now what I would do is, if you can get Tyler Linderbaum in a perfect scenario, what I would like to see happen is go sign Tyler Linderbaum, go try to get a couple of cornerbacks at a cheap price. I would get Trayvon Diggs. I think the ceiling is high enough. It's worth it. Maybe you can go get a Monteric Brown or maybe a Roger McCreary, one of those lesser-known guys. Now, if you want to go after Jamil Dean, that's cool. It's just going to take a lot more money, right? So the point is, give me an offensive lineman in free agency. You don't have to break the bank. Give me a cornerback in free agency as well. And a D tackle, you mentioned that. Calais Campbell is at the top of my list. We're going to talk free agency here in a second if we have time, and I'll try to explain exactly what I mean there. But Calais Campbell has kind of separated himself for me. And then you got Logan Hall, who's got a lot more upside if he hasn't decided to re-sign with the Bucs. I haven't heard anything on that yet. So I'd be cool with going and getting 3 bargain deals in free agency that could compete for starting spots on this team at all 3 of those positions, Andrew. I agree with you, man, completely. So, all right, let's move on to a little NFL free agency talk here, okay? And we're not going to dive too deep into the list. We're just going to hit the latest news around the National Football League when it comes to players being released and all that, because there were some big-name guys and big news that dropped yesterday. We went breaking live here a couple of times yesterday, but let's start with this. Adam Schefter tweeted out 16 hours ago, 4 players were tagged by today's 4 p.m. deadline. one of the reasons why we try to focus on the draft coverage on this particular program before we get into free agency frenzy, because some of this stuff happens. You get excited about this player being available, that player being available, and then all of a sudden they get tagged, they get re-signed, and they're off the market. So let's kind of let that dust settle, right? Well, that's starting to happen here now. As you can see, Adam Schefter says 4 players were tagged by today's 4 p.m. deadline. That was yesterday, of course. The Cowboys wide receiver George Pickens is not going anywhere. He's staying in Dallas. Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts, a former top 10, talent in the draft. He's staying put with Atlanta. The Jets running back Breece Hall, some people were saying he may hit free agency. He's staying with the Jets. I think they hit him with the franchise tag. And then the Indianapolis Colts put the transition tag on quarterback Daniel Jones. This is great news for us as Packers, because that means the supply of quarterbacks in free agency just went down a little bit and the demand is still high. What's that mean? Malik Willis, who we knew was going to sign somewhere else regardless. There was no chance he was coming back to Green Bay. We want him to sign the biggest contract possible so we can get some comp picks, right? So with Daniel Jones off the market, I think Malik Willis's value just went up a little bit. Now, the downside to that, and we may get to it in a second, is you also have Kyler Murray is set to be released by the Arizona Cardinals. So that balances out a little bit. I could see it being a scenario where teams will probably put more value on Kyler Murray than they would Daniel Jones. I feel comfortable saying that. It's easy to make fun of Kyler Murray because it obviously did not end well there when it comes to in Arizona. However, he did win Rookie of the Year. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a guy who's got a ton of talent. Now, is it here, right? Is it the attitude? Is it the leadership? Michael Lombardi, when he had a podcast, the GM Shuffle, he was very, very, very adamant that he didn't think Kyler Murray was a leader and he didn't like his attitude, right? And you get the video game rumors and this and that, and he's not committed to the playbook. And he actually got caught, I believe, having somebody log onto his iPad playbook. So it looks like he's looking at the playbook when it was actually somebody else just logged in, scrolling and looking at stuff. So just a bad look there, right? But he's got a ton of talent, and there's going to be GMs that had a high draft grade on him. I think he would probably carry more value than Daniel Jones. It's just my personal opinion, just because of the traits he's got, even though he is a shorter quarterback. But so that kind of balances out there with Malik Willis, I believe. If anything, maybe it lowered the value of Malik just a touch, but it doesn't change enough, I don't think, to warrant a change in a potential comp pick. Now, some other news, Adam Schefter tweeted out, players not tagged today who will be allowed to become free agents next week include Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP. Okay, so he's going to be hitting the market. That's a huge one. Anybody who needs a running back, you can go grab him. Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce. Okay, so he was not tagged. Now, I'm hearing rumors that they're working on a contract extension for him. Keep an eye on that contract extension, guys, because I'm telling you, one of the comps for Alec Pierce is Christian Watson. Whatever Alec Pierce gets, I expect Christian Watson to be asking for something very, very similar, although his value is probably a little bit lower because Alec Pierce has stayed healthier throughout his time in the NFL. But just keep an eye on that contract. When that contract gets done, if he does re-sign with the Colts or hits free agency, I think that's going to be a good measuring stick for Christian Watson's potential contract extension, okay? Chargers defensive end Odafe Owe is also going to be available in free agency. Running back out of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis Etienne will be available. Baltimore Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum, they did not franchise tag him. Some people say, I'm not surprised. I was a little worried they were going to last second hit him with some kind of tag. Okay, he's staying in Baltimore. So it looks like Linderbaum's going to have a shot to sign somewhere else. And I think there's a realistic chance that Tyler Linderbaum could end up with the New York Giants, but obviously John Harbaugh goes up there. But if there's a chance to sign him to the Green Bay Packers, man, sign me up. I'm all for it, right? All for it. So, and then Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson, we went live with the breaking news yesterday that it was announced they were not franchise tagging him, so he is going to be a free agent. He's available. I think his market value is somewhere around $25 million. That's a little too rich for me, man. A guy that's, I would rather have, let me put it this way. I would rather go get like a Khalil Mack at 10 to 12 million as opposed to Trey Hendrickson at 25 million per, Now we'll see if his market value is actually there. I kind of look at Trey Hendrickson right now as where Joey Bosa was a few years ago. Remember how Joey Bosa was like a premier pass rusher and then all of a sudden he had some injuries and he started to fall off a little bit. And then he signed a decent contract, but he never was the same player. I could see that happening with Trey Hendrickson. I could also see Trey Hendrickson battling back from the injury, which all reports are he's fully healthy now, ready to go. He won't miss any offseason program. But will he return to that 14% quarterback pressure percentage, right? Will this be the year that he takes a step back? You do not want to be on the hook for $25 million per. And I know it all won't be on the hook because of the guaranteed aspect of a contract negotiation, but you don't want to be on the hook for a big chunk of your salary cap on a guy who might be the next Joey Bosa and where he is in his process, right? So those just a couple of names that will be available there in free agency. Diana Rossini tweeted this out right before we went live, and this is about Max Crosby. It's heating up that the Chicago Bears are favorites to trade for and land Max Crosby if the Raiders decide to move on from him, right? If they accept the deal and if someone's willing to give them what they want for Max Crosby. So Diana Rossini tweeted out, said, so where do things stand right now with Max Crosby? Based on several conversations with league sources, the Raiders have not moved off from their asking price of 2 first-round picks and a player. Several teams are interested, but decision makers are getting mixed signals from the Raiders in regards to their genuine interest in dealing their star. So they basically threw the value, the trade compensation value, way up there in the atmosphere, right? I mean, way up there, and said, hey, look, here's what we got to have for him. It sounds like teams showed interest, and now maybe the vibe they're getting is, I don't think the Raiders are actually willing to take that. That's a lot of compensation. That is Micah Parsons' compensation. Max Crosby's a great player. Max Crosby is not Micah Parsons. I'm sorry, just not, right? So, again, when you kind of look at that and how that may fall into place with Max Crosby, could he end up being a Bear? It's possible. Could he end up being traded? Yeah. My money would be on he's probably going to stay with the Raiders based off of the vibe that Diana Rossini's getting, like she said, from several conversations with league sources. What are those league sources? General managers, front office executives that have talked to the Raiders about potentially trading for him. This is their way of getting this out in the media to go, hey, we're not just going to give you whatever you want for him, okay? He's not Micah Parsons. That's their way of combating this a little bit. Guarantee the Raiders organization sees this report that goes out from Diana Rossini, and if they're really, truly interested in trading Max Crosby, they're going to follow up with some of those GMs and go, okay, well, what's your best offer? What would you be willing to give? This is kind of that bridge to keep the conversation going, and this is how insiders are used in the free agency game, the trade market game, all that, to kind of not necessarily manipulate, but to put themselves in the best position to get the best deals that they possibly can, right? So keep an eye on Max Crosby's situation. Now, some other news that broke earlier this morning, Artie Miroff tweeted out, the Chargers will be releasing veteran Mekhi Becton, all right, per Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. The former Super Bowl champion with the Eagles started 14 games in his 1 year with Los Angeles. So he's a cap casualty. The Chargers will save $9.7 million in cap space with Becton's release while taking on $2.5 million in dead money. LA has over $90 million in cap space going into next week. So a couple things there. Is Mekhi Becton, has he been a good football player? I feel like he has throughout his career, right? Now, when you can free up $9.7 million in cap space and only have $2.5 million in dead money, the contract was structured in a way that this was the year you could get out of the contract with Mekhi Becton, right? So that's why they did it. The other thing, though, the fact that Los Angeles has over $90 million in cap space, they weren't like, man, we'd love to keep him, but we just can't afford it right now. This was we don't think he's the guy, let's move on. So his value, I feel like, has probably dropped a little bit. So keep an eye on the Mekhi Becton. However you say it, I've always heard it said Mekhi Becton. Other people say Mekhi Becton. However you guys pronounce it, it's cool with me. But again, he's going to be hitting the market. Would you be interested in signing him? They got him listed as a guard here. I thought he was a tackle coming in the draft process. I could be wrong, but it depends on the price. You know, if you could get him at $3 or $4 million, shoot, yeah, why not? Right? It couldn't be worse than Aaron Banks was last year, to be honest with you. All right, and some other news. Pro Football Talk tweeted out Connor McGovern does not expect to re-sign with the Bills. So again, as we're closing in on free agency, some of these names that we've mentioned in the past of potential free agent signings, we only had 2 centers listed on our cheat sheet, Tyler Linderbaum and Connor McGovern. And it's like, okay, are they going to re-sign with their teams? Both of those guys are going to become available. And that's good news for us because multiple options at center means the market can get a little bit saturated. And with the market being a little bit saturated, obviously a higher supply and maybe a little bit lower demand, the price might come down a little bit. If Connor McGovern had re-signed with the Bills, you could probably see Tyler Linderbaum's value going up a little bit more, right? But the fact that there's 2 decent centers on the market, that's going to kind of play against each other just a touch there as well. So keep an eye on that. I think that's great news for the Packers that another center is available. And again, how much are you willing to pay for him? I don't know. For me, Tyler Linderbaum's a freak, guys. He was clocked at 17 miles per hour last year. Okay. That dude, when they're running duo or they're pulling him, even as a center, pulling him out on an outside run or what have you, some kind of power play or a counter, and he's the pull guy, he's the lead guy, he's a freak. To put that into perspective, I want to say, I'm trying to think of where our boy clocked in at. I had that information earlier. See if I can find it here real quick. Just to give you an idea of the difference between Tyler Linderbaum and Connor McGovern from a trait standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, right? They're both solid centers. Tyler Linderbaum, I think, is a great center. And I think Connor McGovern is a good center, right? That's just kind of how I see that falling into place. And I can't get it to load right now. I was hoping we could pull that up, but it looks like it's not going to work. Maybe I can hit refresh here. But when you look at it, the athletic traits that Tyler Linderbaum has over Connor McGovern is very, very significant. It really is. And when you look at the free agency here, we go center. Yeah, Tyler Linderbaum was clocked at 17.4 miles per hour. Connor McGovern, 12.9. Cade Mays is the 38th best free agent according to NFL.com. They had him clocked at 15.7. So again, the only one that got close to that into the 17s was Luke Fortner, and he played for the Saints, right? He's not like a great player like Linderbaum. You got athletic ability with Linderbaum, and you also got someone who plays very technically sound. Again, Connor McGovern's listed as their 23rd best free agent. That would be a solid pickup at center for us, right? But nowhere near the value that Tyler Linderbaum is. So at the right price, you get Connor McGovern for $8 or $10 million. I'd be okay with that. The problem is, if those are the top 2 centers and Tyler Linderbaum signs a contract for $22 million, Connor McGovern's not going to settle for 8. He's probably going to be closer to the 15, the 13 range, right? So we'll see how all that shakes out as well. And then just a couple other news and notes here from around the league. Pro Football Talk also tweeted out reports the Giants are to release Bobby Okereke. He's a linebacker, okay? I don't know much about him. You guys go do your own research. Looks like another stack backer is set to hit the market. And then, of course, we covered it yesterday. We won't get into it too deep. Pro Football Talk also tweeted out Drew Dahlman's surprise retirement. You guys know Drew Dahlman, the starting center, Pro Bowl caliber center for the Chicago Bears, their key free agent acquisition last year. He has decided to retire at the age of 27, okay? And it looks like the Bears are going to recover $4 million of his $6 million signing bonus from 2025, so they'll probably get some cap space back, that type of thing, and rightfully so. If a player retires before fulfilling that contract, obviously there's going to be ramifications there in that aspect. So just something to keep an eye on there in terms of around the league. I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments. If you're watching this video back later, let us know. How do you feel about that list of news and notes? Some key players looking like they're going to hit free agency now. Are there any of those that pique your interest that you'd like to sign? Hit us up in the comments before free agency gets cranked up. Let us know what you think. And make sure you hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button. And also click the bell icon so you catch our live streams here in the future. All right, let's move along now to – let me just get some notes put down here. I wanted to get into free agency a little bit. We're kind of up against the gun, but I think we'll have time. I want to dive into this new tool that I wanted to show you guys, and we'll see. It's been getting hung up a little bit. Hopefully it'll work, but wanted to kind of talk about these free agency rankings over NFL IQ. I don't know if you guys have checked out NFL IQ or not, but it's a phenomenal tool. I know Daniel Jeremiah has been promoting it like crazy. I got an NFL subscription, so I could have access to all this stuff as well. But NFL IQ is a new thing where, check this out. We're just going to hit refresh here, okay? And on the NFL IQ, it's just go NFL.com IQ, right? You've got NFL rosters that breaks everything down in terms of AAV and everything. You got the free agent big board, and you got the draft big board. We're going to be using this as we creep up on the draft as kind of a cross-check to some of the stuff that we have over with our draft board as well. So we enter the frenzy here, right? And what it's going to do is rank all the free agents, okay? So I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Let me see if I can – I don't know if I can zoom it in anymore or not. Oh, boy. Screwed the whole thing up. Look at Clayton here. Technologically sound, right? Yeah, so it's not going to allow me to. That's the best I can do on the Zoom, guys. But when you look at it here, you've got the rankings on the left of the free agents, okay? So like Malik Willis is the top free agent available. Okay. Shows his top speed over here. 19.8 miles an hour is what he was clocked at last year. Jalen Phillips, edge defender, number 2 from Philly. And whether you agree with these or disagree with these, that's okay. We're not saying this is the grand poobah free agency rankings. It's just cool that they got these extra little things added into NFL IQ here. Number 3, Tyler Linderbaum, right? Notice the diamond there. So obviously that they consider him blue traits. Okay. So he's got blue chip traits is what it is. And if it's got the diamond, that means they're an elite blue chip. Okay. I don't see that on here. It looks like that's actually just blue traits, but so they've got him on here. Okay. Kyler Murray is number 4. We talked about that's a lot closer to Malik Willis's value as opposed to where Daniel Jones was, right? So again, I do think that is going to shift around a little bit in that regard. Alec Pierce is number 5. We'll see if they get that contract done. He is on the rise currently, is what it's shown. He's ascending. Trey Hendrickson is number 6. Devin Lloyd is number 7. This is the guy we were talking about. Like, Devin Lloyd ended up being what we were hoping Quay Walker was, right? And he's obviously ascending. He's the 7th best free agent. He's going to get paid a ton of money. Are we willing to pay him the money that he wants? I would be willing if we had all the extra cap space and the salary cap wasn't an issue, obviously. But the problem is you're going to have to pay Edgerrin Cooper in a couple of years, right? So if you feel like Edgerrin Cooper is that piece to build around your stack backer room, which I personally think he is, then let him step into that role, and you don't want to overpay for somebody else. Now, if you can get Devin Lloyd at $12 million, hell yeah, do it. Sign him. Right? Imagine Devin Lloyd alongside Edgerrin Cooper. That'd be a phenomenal stack backer room, right? But again, it just shows that Quay Walker has been nowhere near the way Devin Lloyd has played at the NFL level, okay? Next is Odafe Owe, the guy that we just talked about. So he's evidently pretty high on the list here. At number 8, edge defender that was released by the Chargers. You got 3 Seahawks in a row right here, okay? Kenneth Walker at number 9 at running back. Boye Mafe, edge defender at number 10. And then you got Rashid Shaheed, wide receiver at number 11. All 3 of those guys just want to ring there with the Seattle Seahawks. Next, you got Elijah Vera Tucker. You guys know this is one of my top free agents here, okay? He is 27 years old, according to this. He's got the plus sign, so it says injury affects the OTA availability, okay? So evidently he's got an injury he's been dealing with. I didn't know about that, so we need to check into that before the Packers make an offer there. He's number 12 on the list. Number 13, another guy I had earmarked, David Edwards. You could see how it would make sense to sign one of these guards and plug and play right there where Aaron Banks was if you decide to move on and free up that cap space. I would rather go that route. I know he's 29 years old. Sign him to a 3-year deal that's really a 2-year deal. You're out of it by the age of 31, and you're moving on, right? And I think it would be a significant upgrade over Aaron Banks. Again, this is Gutey. There's no nice way of saying it, man. He's seen Aaron Banks as a premier guard. He never showed that at San Francisco. There was nobody saying that when we signed him. Nobody was going, oh, my God, what a great signing. Everybody was going, Packers kind of whiffed on this one, I think. Only time will tell, right? Well, time told us it's looking like a whiff. So David Edwards over Aaron Banks. If you cut Aaron Banks, if you cut him this year, you free up only $4 million. But if you go post-June 1, you're freeing up $18 million in cap space for this upcoming calendar year. You just got to carry his cap charge of 24.8 until June 1st. That makes things a little bit difficult for free agency. So I can understand if you just wanted to cut him outright, free up that money, that $4 million right now, and be able to utilize some of that. But I'm just worried that we're going to keep him, and they're going to do a simple restructure where he doesn't take less money. They just move money around. That's really, really going to bother me. And maybe I'm eating these words come next November, right? Maybe we're looking up and go, wow, Aaron Banks is fully healthy and he is dominating. I hope that's the case. I just haven't seen anything there to suggest that as it sits right now. Mike Z in the chat says, unfortunately, Banks isn't going anywhere. That's what I'm feeling like too, Mike. We're going to find out soon, though, right? If free agency opens, he's still on the team. There's still a chance you can move on from him with the post-June 1 cut, but I don't know, man. Maybe that's the thing, too. Maybe Gutey's waiting to see how aggressive the offers are for some of these offensive linemen. And then when he realizes, okay, we can get him, now we move on from him. Maybe something like that happens, Mike. We'll hold out a little bit of hope there. Next on the list is Mike Evans, wide receiver for Tampa Bay. He's currently descending on the list for whatever that means. Jamil Dean, this is one of our top cornerbacks. We had him earmarked, right? He's number 15 on NFL IQ's free agent list here, okay? His top speed was 20.5 miles per hour. Pretty solid there, right? Anything over 20 you feel good about with a corner. Now, like wide receivers, Rashid Shaheed out of Seattle, he was clocked at 21.7. So it's easy to look at those numbers and go, oh, he would cook him. But it depends on what kind of technique you're playing, right? Are you playing over the top leverage and you're not going to allow them to get around you? If you're just strictly a press man look, yeah, he's going to cook you off the line if he gets a clear release, right? So miles per hour, I think, is way more important than 40 time, just me personally. 40 is just another measurement we can use, obviously, at the combine and so on and so forth. So Jamil Dean in the 15 spot. Tight ends Cade Otton and Isaiah Likely coming at 16 and 17. Wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson lands there with the New York from the New York Giants at number 18. Rasheed Walker, they've got 19th on this list, guys, 19th on this list. Now, keep in mind, we talked about Tyler Linderbaum cracking 17 miles per hour. Rasheed Walker cracked 13 miles per hour. Okay, different. I'm telling you, man, Tyler Linderbaum's a freak. He is a sneaky, sneaky good athlete, and that's why you've seen the Baltimore Ravens pulling him on so many run plays. Tackle Jermaine Illuminor. He is in the number 20 spot. He played for the Giants. Okay, moving on down the list here, we have Travis Etienne, running back. He's in the number 21 spot. Played for Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously. He's set to hit free agency. Number 22, you got edge defender John Franklin Myers from the Denver Broncos. 23, there's Connor McGovern. Okay, Connor McGovern coming in. He averaged, 61.9 snaps per game. He played in 16 games. He's 29 years old. If you were to get him on a 3-year deal, he's definitely the second best center in this free agent class, in my opinion, unless someone else gets cut that we're not expecting. But that's a guy that I would be okay with going after him for the right price. Now, if you're going to have to pay over $15 million, go get Tyler Linderbaum, right? If it's less than $15 million, you get closer to 12 or something, you feel good about Connor McGovern, I could see you going and getting him. I don't think Gutey's going to do that, but I didn't expect him to sign Aaron Banks last year either. So we'll see. Guard Zion Johnson from the Chargers. He's in the number 24 spot. He is not on our cheat sheet, so evidently we did not like him as much. Might want to do a little bit more research on him. Romeo Doubs coming in at the number 25 spot here. Romeo Doubs was clocked at 21.1 miles per hour last year. Pretty solid there, man. Not bad, right? Pretty good speed clocking there. Safety Brian Cook from the Chiefs at number 26. Isaac Samalo is another guy that we have earmarked here as a on our cheat sheet that we like at guard. He's 33 years old, but hey, we need some veterans on this team, right? If you go and get him for a really, really good deal, he's the 27th best free agent. I'd be okay with that. Cornerback Jalen Watson. I personally like Jalen Watson more than Jamil Dean because his value is showing significantly less than Jamil Dean. I would rather have Jalen Watson at like $8 million per as opposed to Jamil Dean at $15 million per. Okay. So Jalen Watson from the Kansas City Chiefs, 28 years old. He was clocked at 20.9 miles per hour last year. So keep an eye on him. Quiddy Pay from the Indianapolis Colts, edge defender. He's now 28 years old. He is the 29th best free agent on this list. Next on the list is Alontae Taylor. This is a guy that the Packers were rumored to be in trade talks with the Saints for last year. Okay. I'm not big on Alontae Taylor. I don't think Alontae Taylor is anything magical, right? I think if you signed him, he would compete with Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine for a starting cornerback spot, but he wouldn't be slam dunk the number one corner. What I seen with Trayvon Diggs' tape, Trayvon Diggs, if he is signed by the Packers, would be slam dunk the number one corner on the roster day one. I can't say that about Alontae Taylor. Now, the good thing about Alontae Taylor, he's a freak, 22.2 miles per hour, but speed isn't everything, right? And his PFF grades were just, they were kind of mediocre. I think we looked at the passer rating when targeted as well, and it was just kind of middle of the road. There wasn't nothing sweet there. There wasn't nothing special there with Alontae Taylor. Would it be a good addition to the Packers cornerback room? Of course it would. He may end up being the number one corner based off the room right now, but that's not saying a whole lot. With Trayvon Diggs, let me put it this way. Trayvon Diggs has shown all-pro upside. He's a ball hawk. He's got a great frame. He's basically a receiver playing corner, right? He's got amazing athleticism. I think he was clocked at over 22 miles per hour, if I remember correctly. So him here, Alontae Taylor more down here, right? I would rather go get Trayvon Diggs because Trayvon Diggs is also carrying less value right now than probably Alontae Taylor. I mean, he's lower on this list, it appears here as we're looking at. Next, you got Clavon Chason, if I'm saying that right, or Chason, edge defender from the Patriots. He's in the 31 spot. Caden Ellis, linebacker from the Falcons. You got Chig Okonkwo, tight end from the Titans. Khalil Mack, edge defender from the Chargers. Now, he is descending on this list, okay? He's sinking. However, him or Trey Hendrickson? Trey Hendrickson $25 million per, or Khalil Mack, $10 million per? Give me Khalil Mack for 1 year. That's the route I would go there. Safety Kobe Bryant at 35. Reek Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks. There's a lot of people that love Reek Woolen, man, and I'm just not a big fan. I don't like the way he's mouthy. I see him run his mouth on the field, and I never see him back it up on the field. And I'm not going to say any names. You guys can guess. I feel like we got him at home already. Okay, and we'll just leave that at that. Leo Chenal in 37 spot. If you don't go after Devin Lloyd or Devin Bush or one of those top guys, right, give me Leo Chenal. If his market value is still sitting at $6 million per, give me the Wisconsin Badger Leo Chenal to put alongside Edgerrin Cooper, and you're off and running. Imagine a stackbacker room. If you get Leo Chenal at $6 million, what you would hope to get Quay at, right? Leo Chenal and Edgerrin Cooper are your starting stackbackers, you nickel 4-2-5. When you go to your base 4-3 or 3-4, whichever it is, let's say it's a base 4-3, and you're going to 3 stackbackers in a hybrid front that Jonathan Gannon may or may not run, right? He played a 4-3 in Philly. He played a 3-4 in Arizona. Regardless, 70% of your snaps on average is going to be in your nickel defense, so there's only going to be 2 stackbackers out there anyway. But if you go to a 4 stackbacker look, then imagine it being Edgerrin Cooper and Leo Chenal. Imagine it being Leo Chenal, Edgerrin Cooper as your Mike, because he's got the frame to do it, and then Isaiah McDuffie or Tyron Hopper next to them. I feel good about that. I'm going to be honest. I feel way better about that than Quay Walker next to Edgerrin Cooper. Leo Chenal has instincts. He's a physical freak too. I think he scored a 9 RAS coming out of the draft process. He's got instincts. He plays with great awareness. He plays with anticipation. He's not the physical freak that Quay was in terms of frame, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong there. But 26 years old, if you can get him for $6 to $8 million, that would be the stackbacker I would go after. You get a Wisconsin guy, bring him back home. The fans are going to love it. I think he'll gel well with the rest of this group. I'd love to see Leo Chenal alongside Edgerrin Cooper. That would just be absolutely awesome. Center Cade Mays, I'm not as big on. I don't have him on my cheat sheet. I don't think he would be worth overpaying for personally. And you're going to have to overpay for free agents. That's just the name of the game, right? That's the way this works. Safety Nick Cross at 39, Nakobe Dean at 40, Quay Walker at the 41 spots where they got him. Quay Walker's a physical freak, right? We've talked about this. He was clocked at 18.4 miles per hour. I got to be honest with you. I would have expected him to be clocked at over 19 miles an hour. Look at Leo Chenal. Leo Chenal was clocked at 19.1. Quay Walker was clocked at 18.4. Again, is that the be-all, end-all? No, it's not. But what do we always say about Quay? Yeah, he hasn't played that well, but he's a physical freak. Leo Chenal is just as freaky when it comes to speed and agility and quickness. So let's put that to bed finally, right? Tackle Braden Smith from the Colts at 42. Cam Curl, safety from the Chargers at 43. Rams, I apologize. Wide receiver Jawan Jennings at 44. You got edge defender Joseph Asaya, if I'm saying that right, at 45. You got linebacker Justin Sternad. I guess that's how you say it. Linebacker from the Broncos at 46. We'll just hit a couple more and we'll wrap this up. Guard Wyatt Teller, 47. Jaquan Brisker, safety from the Bears at 48. Calais Campbell, 49. Guys, give me Calais Campbell. Give me Calais Campbell on this freaking football team, man. Like if we were to, I don't think it'll reset here. We're almost done anyway. Let me just see if I can go 2D tackle real quick because it does change. Yeah, here we go. So it changes up some of the stats. So Calais Campbell is the top defensive tackle available, right? So when you look at Calais Campbell here, what are the key attributes you're looking for in a defensive tackle? I'm looking for run stop ability, right? But I'm also looking for pass rush ability. When you look at Devontae White, when he's fully healthy, he's a good football player. He hasn't been fully healthy in a very long time. He's constantly battling injuries. He's a good pass rusher and a average run stopper, essentially, is the way I kind of see it. Now, we're not getting rid of Devontae White. Okay, he'll probably get a contract extension, whether we agree with it or not. But Calais Campbell lining up next to Devontae White, his quarterback pressure percentage as a nose tackle, and he moves around a lot too, 8.8%. He had 6.5 sacks. His get off is a 0.95. The top speed, 15.2 miles per hour. It's that big body is just wild at the age of 40 years old. Now, if we climb down this list, let's just take a quick look. Okay, Calais Campbell is 49th on the list. Sheldon Rankins is 80th. Don't want Sheldon Rankins. David Onyemata is one that's on my list. Now, his quarterback pressure percentage is only 5.9%, though. According to Next Gen Stats, other websites may have it different. So now look at his stuffs, 12. Again, Calais Campbell is better than David Onyemata. It's not even close. Okay. Tonga, same thing. Calais Campbell's running away with it. Now you get down to Jalen Redmond from the Vikings, 9% quarterback pressure percentage, 16 stuffs. Okay. That's a little bit different, right? A little bit different. And when you look at the miles per hour, 16.7, not bad. Going on down the list on our cheat sheet as well. I'm trying to remember who all we had on our cheat sheet. We had, I think we had Joseph Day. Joseph Day was one we earmarked, I thought. No, we didn't. It was Logan Hall. Where is Logan Hall? Did Logan Hall get signed? I think Logan Hall might have got re-signed. Maybe I missed that. So we need to double check that because Logan Hall was definitely on my list. But when you look at it, you're looking for these metrics that kind of pop to you, like LJ Collier, 10.4%. Now, keep in mind, he averaged 23 snaps a game. He only played 93 snaps last year. So that's a very, very small sample size there, right? Everybody let me know in the chat if you know about Logan Hall. Somebody do a quick search for me before we wrap up. I'm eager to know, did Logan Hall re-sign with the Bucs? Maybe I missed that. Maybe I did miss that. So Coach Lynn asked about Hargrave. Let's see if we can find Hargraves on here, man. That's a great question. I haven't seen him on this list. So unless I'm overlooking him, Coach, of course, he's not been released yet. Some of these guys might not be on the list because they haven't technically hit yet. Although Kyler Murray hasn't been cut loose yet technically, and he's on the list. You would think he is. I'm not seeing Hargrave, Coach. Scrolling a little bit more. Yeah, he's not on the list, Coach. Maybe they missed it because I know he was set to be released by the Vikings for sure. So we may be able to get a sort here. Let's see if we can sort real quick. I don't know if it'll allow me to or not. Let's go descending. Maybe I should have went ascending. I don't know. Not descending should be the right thing. It's been locking up. There's a lot of people using the site right now. So, yeah, it looks like it's going to lock up. I wanted to kind of see. But, again, you kind of get the gist. Calais Campbell, he checks all the boxes for me, man. I know he's 40 years old, but we only need him for a year, right? Let him go chase a ring with us. To me, he seems like the free agent I would go get. And it's like, okay, Clayton, why would they sign him, right? Well, who did he play for last year, right? Who did Calais Campbell play for last year? The Arizona Cardinals. Who's your new defensive coordinator, right? It's Jonathan Gannon. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So we'll see, man. Only time will tell. Free agency is about to get ramped up. If you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about that free agent list and the order in which we covered them in? We mentioned a couple cornerbacks. We mentioned a couple stack backers. We mentioned a couple of defensive tackles. We mentioned a few offensive lines, center, guards. Let me know who catches your attention. Who would you like your Green Bay Packers to sign? Hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. Click the bell icon for us as well. And I think we're going to wrap it up there, guys. Let's just hang out with the chat for a second. I haven't seen anybody comment on Logan Hall yet. I'm not sure what's going on there. Solder in the chat said play speed is Quay's issue. It is. And I think that comes to processing, Solder. I really do, man. It's one of those things. There's just enough hesitation that even his athleticism won't allow him to rebound. You know, some of the slower linebackers, Bobby Wagner is not nowhere near the athlete he used to be, right? But his processing allows him to gain a half a step through his mind, his film study, his understanding of concepts, wide receiver splits, tight end splits, you know, tackles, watching their knuckles, watching their hands, watching how they line up, just little things like that Quay hasn't been in the league long enough to pick up on. I'm with you, man. Play speed is definitely an issue there for sure. So, all right. That was just restructured, but I'm just trying to go through the chat, make sure we didn't miss anything. I think we're good. Man, this is a fun show. Appreciate y'all swinging through. We had a good crowd in here. If y'all would, smash that like button for us. Also, if you're watching on X or YouTube, wherever you're watching, make sure, like if you're on X, hop over to YouTube, give us a sub. If you're on YouTube and you use Twitter/X, give us a follow at Packers_access. Also, we got Linktree pinned on my Twitter account now, okay? So you can go follow the podcast there. You just click on that link tree. It'll bring up both Spotify and iTunes, so you can go sub wherever you're watching or listening from. And also make sure you can just search too. If it's one of the platforms we didn't mention, just search Packers Total Access wherever you get your podcasts, okay? So greatly appreciate everybody hanging out. And also the best way to support what we do here, if you want to join our community, you can find that at patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. It's blowing up over there. Bunch of new people joining. Really, really cool environment. We get all this extra content out to you guys and gals, a little extra added value when we're not live, as well as just a way for you that you can support the show any way you want to. So that being said, we're out of here, guys. We'll be back later as news breaks. I'm sure more news probably broke as we were live. If that's the case, we'll set it up. Dane Brugler did his second mock draft. The Packers took a guard at 52. We're going to talk about that. That's a name that hasn't been mentioned. I got really excited because he's high on our board, and he fell right in the Packers' lap, according to Dane Brugler on his mock 2.0. So we'll dive into that at some point today as well. So make sure you hit that like button for us, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. We will be back as news breaks. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack Go.
Here we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.